The North Atlantic awaits. The 7 boats competing in the Volvo Ocean Race are about to wave goodbye to the USA and sprint across the Atlantic to Galway on the west coast of Ireland. Can anyone stop Ericsson 4's relentless march to glory? Since storming to victory on the opening leg in Cape Town, Torben Grail's men have dominated the race. Now, with just 4 legs left, time is running out for the 2 men who can snatch overall victory from the Brazilian Olympian. Bauer Becking on Telefonica Blue lies second, 12.5 points behind Ericsson 4. He knows he must be first across the Atlantic if they're to stand any chance of being crowned winners in St. Petersburg at the end of June. But the last time Becking ventured into these waters in the Volvo Ocean Race, disaster struck. His crew were forced to abandon the sinking Movistar. What does this Atlantic crossing hold in store for a man desperate to win? 3 points behind Telefonica Blue in third is another man who hasn't given up hope of catching Ericsson 4. Ken Reid on Puma's Il Mostro is yet to win a leg. Can they lead the fleet to Ireland? Or will Ericsson 4 take another step towards securing victory? Boston, and preparations for what's expected to be a no-holds-barred Atlantic crossing are continuing. The 2,500-mile dash to Galway will be a journey littered with obstacles.
And the scoring gates are out there.
Yep, scoring gate is right there. Okay. So it's before you get to the ice area.
Isn't that ice gate stupid, or is it?
Well, you tell me. These are actually measured by aircraft, so it's known that there is one iceberg here in this box between 43 and 44 north, 50 and 49 west, and that iceberg is melting, and so there's lots of growlers in this area here, and then there's other icebergs up to the north of that along the Labrador Current, which is what is the cold current that's bringing them down to the south here. So perhaps in its abundance of caution, but probably better than hitting one.
With the possibility of encountering structural damage on the way to Ireland, the question of whether Ericsson 3 should race equipped with a spare dagger board is uppermost in the skipper's mind.
But now when you see this forecast, is that very stupid that we don't bring the extra dagger board and put it on port side?
Well, to me it's a medium air leg, and there's lots of to hit in the Atlantic. Hey, but Emre broke one last time, Puma broke one coming across. It's not a, I wouldn't say it's a light-eared leg.
What do you guys think?
I think bring it.
I think so, yes, we should bring it.
Yeah, when I see this, I mean, in theory, I think it would be overhead.
Yeah, I think we should probably take it out. That's my gut thought. There's plenty of to hit out there.
Three.
I tend to agree with Axel more than anything else, that if you didn't have the board on board and you broke something, you'd be feeling pretty stupid. Miserable and raining out there. Yeah.
It's the area of water close to the start line which is concerning the leaders, Ericsson 4.
Well, I guess, when you come out of here, we've got that whale exclusion zone. And there's a couple of shallows, Stellwagen Bank out here and George's Bank out in this area here up in the Gulf of Maine, and that's a big feeding ground for the whales. So you've got to get around there. Nice cool water there. They like that, lots of nutrients in the water.
And if you're a gambling man, how long is it going to take us?
I say about 9 days.
9 days?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's more money going on that.
No, I wouldn't do that.
No.
While the Atlantic will present a whole host of challenges, the skipper and navigator of Green Dragon will be consulting 200,000 people before making their key decisions. In a groundbreaking experiment, the Volvo Ocean Race virtual game is inviting all of its online players to advise the Irish-Chinese entry on the quickest way of getting to its home port of Galway.
One of the most exciting things about this race has been the advent of the virtual game, and over 200,000 people competing virtually. And I guess the natural progression was to try and link the virtual game with the real game. And now the gamers are going to get a real taste of what it's like to be making the decisions actually on the Volvo 70, whether you're Ian Moore or Ian Walker right at the coalface. Every 12 hours, Ian and I are going to send some text explaining what's going on the boat, what the conditions are like, what sort of tactical and strategic dilemmas we have, and what decisions we're in the process of making. We're going to outline some choices to the gaming community, who then have 1 hour to vote on. It could be one of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 options. And then what's going to happen is whatever they decide, whatever the majority decision, is going to be emailed to the whole fleet, not just to the Green Dragon. So that there's no chance of us having an advantage that other teams don't have.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. If you just see how many people are playing it, and now that the Green Dragon's taking an option, so I think we bring the sport way closer to a big part of the public, and I think that's just going to be the future.
I'm hoping that it'll help us to sort of focus some of our decision making, and that obviously it's new and interesting and a bit of a challenge, but we're going to have to phrase some of the questions that we will be asking ourselves anyway, as we ask the gaming community about these decisions that we make. So I think I'll just add a little bit more to the structure to some of the decisions that we make anyway.
We're not constrained to take the decision, because clearly that would be a very difficult position to put us and the team in. But I suspect we will take the decision in the vast majority of the times, because of course they're looking at the similar weather and wind files to that we have on board. But what is going to happen is whether we take the decision or not, we're going to have to account for what happens next. So of course, if we don't do what the gamers want and it proves to be wrong what we've done, then I guess there's going to be a bit of a kangaroo court for us.
For those sailors who call this part of the world home, the Boston stopover is giving them a chance to reacquaint themselves with their families, friends and day jobs.
Lenny, what are you doing? Chloe, how you been? Huh? What do you think?
For Jerry Kirby, bowman on Puma's Il Mostro, it's time to swap boat for building site.
The only reason I stayed in the construction, it would pay my bills in between sailing gigs. There just wasn't enough money in sailing. This is the one we're tunneling under. And this was Vanderbilt, the America's Cup guy. This was Harold Vanderbilt's personal estate.
Pretty good.
Yeah, this one was wild. You gotta come check this out. This whole place, inside and out, we've saved all the original pieces, put it all back together. Because you couldn't get more square footage, we decided to tunnel under this. How you been, Tony?
Not too bad. How you doing?
How's your mom?
Good, good.
When you come in here next, there'll be a spa, a workout room, wine cellar. It's like there's gonna be a wild wine cellar. And one of the things I really like about the Volvo Ocean Race is that it's the only event where if you don't win, it's still not a failure. It's one of the few things where, we were talking about the other night, Sid and I, that you end up with new friends. It's a great adventure. There's always parts of the Volvo that you take away and you don't feel empty-handed, even if you haven't won the thing.
Race day, Boston. With preparations complete, our 7 crews are heading for the dockside and will soon be saying their goodbyes before surging into the North Atlantic. Crossing the North Atlantic has always proved one of the toughest, most challenging legs of the Volvo Ocean Race.
People often talk about the Southern Ocean and Cape Horn and Cape Point, but the North Atlantic can throw anything at you, really, especially at this time of year in the early spring.
The 2005-2006 edition of the race was no exception. On leg 7 3 years ago, Dutch crewman Hans Horowitz drowned after being washed overboard from ABN AMRO 2, 1,300 miles from Land's End.
We're preparing a sail, and during that change, the wind got up from 12 to 14 knots to 25 quite quickly. And Hans, obviously being the guy who was trimming and hanging on to the most important sail on the boat at that stage, was the last to go down.
Despite recovering Hans, Seb Joss's young crew were unable to resuscitate him. But just 2 days later rescued Bauer Becking's crew from the stricken Spanish boat Movistar, her keel compromised and storm-strength winds approaching.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really gets any tougher than that. Obviously, we went through a hell of a lot as a team in that leg, losing Hans and then going on to have to pick up the guys off Movistar and get them safely back to shore.
It's a pretty dramatic thing all in all, with Hans and with losing a boat, but the boat's a boat and it's a tool, and it failed us, so we had to let it go.
I think Pepe was probably the most emotionally attached to the boat because he was the boat captain, and I think he was the last to get into the raft.
Lots of people asking me, oh, what about Movistar last time you sunk? That's a thing that have happened, it's a thing of the past. And yeah, we're really happy with the boat, what we're having right now. We haven't had any issues with the keel, what we had in the last race. So yeah, that's just a thing from the past I'm not thinking about.
We often talk about what happened on their boat and what happened on our boats, and just it's definitely a reminder of what can go wrong, horribly wrong, on one of these races.
There's a lot of memories there and a lot of emotions, but I think it's important we remember what happened then and to honour Hans's memory and in the hope that it doesn't happen again.
In recognition of his work in developing young sailing talent, a new award has been launched in Hans's memory.
He was very much a keen teacher as well to new young sailors, and he was actually having the role of being the coach on board the ABN2 campaign in the last race, which was very much a rookie campaign with most of the sailors under 30. The idea we had was to launch a trophy in his memory, awarded to the best sailor who started the race under 30 and who has never completed an offshore race or an offshore leg in the previous editions of the race.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I think it's a really nice way to honour his memory and also it represents what he helped to put together in the last edition of the race. So no, I think it's a fantastic idea and a really nice way to remember him.
In Boston, the time has come to say goodbye. For the two Ians on Green Dragon, their unique experiment is underway.
We've done our first poll already this morning. We asked the online gaming community how we should stack the boat for the leg, and thankfully they agreed with us. So the boat's stacked 80-20. I mean, it's going to be interesting, it's something new, and we'll see how it goes.
There's a huge amount of support in Galway and in Ireland, so this is a large part of what this project is about, this next leg and sailing into Galway.
The last transatlantic leg in the Volvo didn't turn out as we'd planned it on Movistar last time, so it'd be nice to get there on the same boat I leave this time. So that'll be the first goal.
It's just it can just go so bad so quick. You're a long way from help. You're 1,000 miles at best from help. So it's just that period in the middle where you'll be a little bit cagey.
Humour is preparing to cross the Atlantic without two of their most experienced sailors.
Sydney and Jerry are off this leg. It's not a shock from the first leg on. We've had a crew rotation. We got a really deep bench. So it's really no different than any other leg.
Kirby will remain in New England as his wife battles an illness.
It's always tough not to go with the boys, but there are some things in life that you have to take care of, and my wife just comes before sailing.
Another casualty of a team reshuffle is Telefonica Blues helmsman Simon Fisher.
It's a bit weird actually, sitting here and then not going, but I don't know, I hope the guys will have a good race and I'll wave them off and give them a bit of support, and then I think once they disappear over the horizon I'll be looking forward to our holidays. Looking forward to them going.
For Delta Lloyd's Gerd Jan Portman, a former crewmate of Hans Horowitz on the last race, the journey to Europe will be a poignant one.
Every single time it gets a bit hairy and stuff, I think about him, and
and it's made me a different sailor, and it's probably made me a better sailor. You know, take care of myself a bit more and about others.
Line on. Okay, that's good. Ready for time. Stop up. Look at the guys down below, so if somebody's stacking, we have to react. Here am I stacking. What do we have to do?
Just where the people blue is there, okay? It's a little bit windward, the mark now.
At the first mark, it's Telefonica Blue who lead, followed closely by Telefonica Black. Creating chaos at the start, the arrival of a tanker. Ericsson 3 attacking in front of it.
Go, guys! I'm throwing we can, guys! That makes it lively. At Tom Mark, you just about get run over by a ship coming up the channel. Unbelievable.
Frustration for Tuni Bermudez and his crew on Delta Lloyd. They're pinned out and having to sail alongside, leaving them trailing the rest of the fleet. Eventually, our 7 boats led by Telefonica Blue leave the crowded harbour. Next stop, Galway. The departure from the USA brings a drop in temperatures as the fleet begins its charge towards the scoring gate off Newfoundland. On Ericsson 3, keeping warm is a major priority.
Line up here and do the E3 blind dance. We have to go up here though. You have to go up here so we don't fall over. You always lead out. You have to be do it, eh? That's our last way of warming up. Come on, Gussie.
We're practicing for the next prize giving. Yee, hoppy daddy ho, early in the morning.
It's nice. Lilies, please, Shannon. Let's keep this boat ripping. Currently locked in an insanely close race for first place. Leg 7 of the Volvo Ocean Race. 2 Ericsson boats just to windward. Telefonica Blue directly behind us. Telefonica Black dead abeam with us. I think we're just ahead. We seem to be going quite quickly at the moment, but you know, the wind speed only needs to change a couple of knots, then another boat comes into element. It is undoubtedly the coldest conditions we've encountered so far. The water's probably 5 degrees and the wind chill's probably 0, so it's going to be very cold tonight, and it's probably going to get colder over the next day.
It's not long before the anticipated debris in the water starts to create problems.
What's happened, Vicky? Oh, I just hit a lobster pot, but it's all right.
Just so we're not coming past there at night, we've had pots for Africa. Lots of slalom work going on, and we hooked a few, but unfortunately they've all come off. And, we're coming up to a few more up here again now.
A weed problem with our keel, and it's been on there for about a day. It won't come off, so we're going to try and smack it off with a weed stick.
Split's going.
Slippery hell, eh?
Should get Daryl to put a little bit less of a globe on it next time.
Oh, got it.
I've got it pretty close to the edge, so hopefully it just falls off at high speed now. We just need the high speed.
The lobster pots are hindering some more than others.
Hook went up on the dagger board, and I'm going quite fast, so rather than just sliding off and falling off, it's never through the board. Through about a front 200 millimeters, so we had to pretty much stop the boat, take the board out, which had a lot of damage. Take the board out of its cassette, put it below, and the guys have been preparing it this afternoon. Meanwhile, then we had to take the other dagger board up, turn it upside down, and put it down and use that for the meantime. So lost quite a few miles through all of that, about 10 miles or so. But we're back on track now, and everything's just about repaired, so we should be back in the game again.
This one there, and I would have thought we could have, if this hasn't gone through the spar, which I don't think it has, we can just cover that up, and that will hopefully stop it undressing itself.
As Green Dragon fights on, Telefonica Blue and Puma's Il Mostro continue to race side by side, approaching the scoring gate.
We're all within a mile roughly of each other, so that's quite exciting. If you stick your head outside now, there's probably not more than 20 meters of visibility, so yeah, it's just a matter of keeping an eye on this. It's good that it's a Sunday, maybe not all the fishermen are out on the water, because this can be very busy waters.
Got a little yacht race on our hands here. 60 odd miles to go to the scoring gate. We're neck and neck with Puma. Fans at home are going crazy.
As darkness falls, those on Telefonica Blue are aware Puma is beginning to draw ever closer.
Barco, yo creo que estamos a 3 esloras. Hemos estado un poco más cerca antes, pero nos vamos alejando y nos vamos separando, intentando los dos sacar la proa para adelante. Ahora estarán a unas 4 esloras, algo así.
Puma's efforts to catch Telefonica Blue are in vain. Ken Reed's men cross the scoring gate just 3 boat lengths behind.
There's a gate now.
Despite being third at the leg 7 scoring gate, Ericsson 4's overall lead remains a healthy one, 11.5 points. The gap between Bao Becking on Telefonica Blue and Ken Reid on Puma's Il Mostro is 3.5 points. Can Telefonica Blue hold on to their lead and be first to Galway, maintaining the pressure on Ericsson 4? Lying second at the scoring gate, will Puma claim their first leg win? Or will Torben Grail on Ericsson 4 reel in those ahead of them and take another huge step towards securing overall victory?